Story on ABC News Breakfast. British Prime Minister David Cameron has faced a fiery session of Parliament to defend his role in the phone hacking scandal. He says with hindsight, it was a mistake to hire former News of the World editor Andy Coulson as his media advisor.
News International has now stopped paying the legal fees of the private investigator at the centre of the scandal after yesterday's admission by James Murdoch at the parliamentary inquiry. It's also releasing its lawyers, Harbottle and Lewis, from client confidentiality so they can answer questions from police. David Cameron told Parliament the scandal has damaged public trust in key institutions.
Of course, I regret and I am extremely sorry about the furore it has caused. With 20/20 hindsight and all that has followed, I would not have offered him the job, and I expect that he wouldn't have taken it. But you don't make decisions in hindsight, you make them in the present. You live and you learn, and believe you me, I have learnt.
David Cameron there. For more, our correspondent Philip Williams joins us now from London. Philip, good morning. That was a very defiant performance from Mr Cameron. What were his key declarations?
Well, his key declaration was really to put a bit more distance between him and Andy Coulson. He's been doing this incrementally, basically saying if he lied, then let the full force of the law apply to him. That his sin really was loyalty, that he had believed him from the beginning when he received assurances he'd known nothing about the hacking. But you can see that distance growing bit by bit because Coulson has become such a liability for the Prime Minister. Now, he called this special parliamentary session himself, flew back early from a trip to Africa, so he was prepared for this. He knew he was entering a firestorm, and here's a little of how he handled the opposition's taunts and a little of Ed Miliband's reply to that.
I'm sorry, Philippa, I don't know if we have that right now. Well, we'll see if we can return to that in just a moment. We'll try and line that up for you.
Sure.
When we listen to that, we'll have a further discussion about it. But one other key point was that he refused to deny discussions that he might have had with News International executives about Rupert Murdoch's B-Sky B bid. Yes, that's right. Every time he was asked about this, basically, did you have discussions with Rupert Murdoch about this? He said, I had no inappropriate discussions. Basically, it seemed to imply that there were discussions about the bid, perhaps at some point, but that it wasn't inappropriate. And of course, that was howled down by the opposition. They have been smelling a bit of blood about this B-Sky B bid. Basically, the implication is that perhaps you might have given a nod and a wink or said that, possibly you could help them out. And certainly up until this whole scandal erupted 2 weeks ago, it looked like the B-Sky B bid would go through, that Murdoch would gain total control of that company. So he certainly is on the back foot on that issue, but he says, and he maintains, and he's quite steadfast about it, I did nothing wrong, I did nothing inappropriate. Now that word will be dissected, no doubt, further. All right, we can have a listen now to some of what the Prime Minister said in the British Parliament overnight. Let's listen in.
I have said very clearly that if it turns out Andy Coulson knew about the hacking at the News of the World, he will not only have lied to me, but he would have lied to the police, to a select committee, to the Press Complaints Commission, and of course perjured himself in a court of law. More to the point, if that comes to the pass, he could also expect to face severe criminal charges. I have an old-fashioned view about innocent until proven guilty. But if it turns out I've been lied to, that would be a moment for a profound apology. And in that event, I can tell you I will not fall short.
It's not about hindsight, Mr. Speaker. It's not about whether Mr. Coulson lied to him. It is about all the information and warnings that the Prime Minister ignored. He was warned, and he preferred to ignore the warnings so that the country can have the leadership we need. Why doesn't he do more? Why doesn't he do more than give a half apology and provide the full apology now for hiring Mr. Coulson and bringing him into the heart of Downing Street?
Opposition leader Ed Miliband there. So what was the response to what the Prime Minister said, both inside the Parliament, we heard a bit of it there, and also outside?
Well, very much a partisan line inside, of course, as you would expect, because the opposition has said consistently, you were told many, many times that this man was not appropriate for number 10. Now, there were even reports today that the palace had sent messages via intermediaries that they weren't happy about his selection because he was the News of the World editor when Prince Harry's phone was hacked. That started this whole ball rolling all those years ago. So whether or not that's true, we haven't been able to establish. But outside, well, it's hard to tell because this is all happening so fast. There's so much information out there. People are really in the public almost confused by this avalanche of daily revelations, sackings, resignations, that people's heads are spinning. And even in Parliament, it appears, from hour to hour, people are playing catch-up because this moves so rapidly.
And News Corporation, or News International, over in London, has issued a statement in relation to their law firm, Harbottle & Lewis.
Yes, so this is the law firm that they deposited certain documents with that they asked, they say, News International says they asked to evaluate whether there was any information showing criminality of interest to the police or showed wrongdoing possibly from some of their executives. We don't know exactly what's in there. Now, there's been some contention about whether that job was done thoroughly, and that there's been some division between News International and that legal firm, but we don't need to go into that. But it appears now that what they've done by releasing them to talk to the police is say, look, you no longer have that vow of allegiance, of silence to us. We're letting you go and talk to the police and say everything that you can connected to this whole case. So the police have had those documents for some time now, and now the legal firm that was employed to evaluate them can also talk to the police. This came up in the committee yesterday.
Yes.
So we've had two things change from that committee meeting yesterday. We've also got Glenn Mulcair, the private detective that is allegedly hacked and was jailed for hacking. He's had his legal costs now removed by the Murdochs, but it appears very much in reaction to what came out in that hearing yesterday. You wonder, would any of that happened if that question hadn't been asked?
I don't think we even need to wonder about that even more, Philip Williams. Absolutely right. Good to talk to you this morning. Thanks so much.
Thank you.